Welcome to Exhaust Notes Australia. My name's Salvatore and today we're going to find out, is the Polestar 2 a worthy competitor of the Tesla Model 3? So let's address the elephant in the room before we talk about the actual car. What is Polestar? Well, Polestar used to be the tuning division of Volvo, and then they were bought out by Geely, an automotive giant in China. What they did is they separated the brand, so now the brand only focuses on EV cars only. So they're not connected anymore, completely separated. So the car is kind of a Volvo, but not really a Volvo. The actual head designer of Volvo is working for Polestar. But the car kind of is like the younger generation. It's pretty confused of what it is. But besides that, let's talk about the design. So the overall front design of the car. Look, I think personally this is a better looking car than the Tesla Model 3. It's got a more aggressive front bumper. And also I love the headlight designs. It just pays homage to Thor, his Hammer Mjolnir, in the way they've just designed the LED front headlights. They're also matrix LED front headlights, so it means that they won't dazzle oncoming drivers. And I do like, again, how I was saying about the grille, it's actually a physical grille, not like most electric cars where it's just a piece of plastic. So I do like how they've done that. It looks a lot nicer and it just makes the overall front design of the car a lot more aggressive and a lot better to look at. Okay, talking about the side profile of the car, I like this crease line that leads down the side and extends to the rear. I also like how the A-pillar is black, which then makes it look all like that the window at the front continues down the side. It just makes it look really nice. It also comes with a complete moonroof, which is really nice on this specific car. Other cars will just have a gloss black roof. And talking about the side profile as well, one thing that I don't like is these door handles. A bit old fashioned. I would expect on an EV car, they would be recessed, which makes it look period correct to this actual car, because EV cars are supposed to look from the future and this is a bit old-fashioned. Another thing I don't like is this sticker down here with the battery capacity plus the power, how much power the car produces. I think that's a bit tacky. It reminds me of a toy that has a made in China sticker on the bottom, which funny enough this car is made in China, and I just wish they didn't have that on there. Now you might wonder, there's gold brake calipers. Well, that's because this is the performance pack. That's an $8,000 option, which you then get Brembo 4-piston brake calipers at the front with vented and drilled discs. You also get Öhlins shocks and dampers, which are adjustable, which again, I don't understand why would be on this car. It's not like you're gonna get under there and change it. Why wouldn't you just make it put it into the car where it's electric, so you can just flick of a switch, change the way the car's characteristics are. It's a bit, a bit funny. But also with that performance pack, you get yellow seat belts, and you also get Continental grippier tires and also 20-inch alloys. Then there's also the Plus package, which includes leather seats or a choice of vegan alternatives, Harman Kardon sound system, and other interior enhancements, which if you want to find out, you can go to the Polestar site, which is a $6,000 option. And then there's the Pilot pack, which is $3,400, which includes all the safety features like a 360-degree camera, lane keeping assist, etc., etc., etc. But besides that, guys, the side profile is really nice, but there's certain things that I wish they wouldn't put on it. Let's talk about the rear end. Okay, so I do like how the roof slopes down into a sloping roof design. It's almost of a hatchback kind of a car, and you'll soon find that out when I open the boot, which is quite useful. I love this rear tail light design, how the light bar goes from here all the way across to the following light. That is really nice, and at night it just makes the car look really aggressive from behind. What I do like about the Polestar as well is that they haven't put fake exhaust on an electric car. Thank you. It's just nothing, which looks good. I don't like this plastic part, this black plastic. I wish it was body colored. I understand why they do it. It breaks up the colors, but yeah, it just looks cheap. But besides that, again, I really like the design of this car. The overall exterior design is a lot nicer than most EV cars on the market today, and especially its main competitor, the Tesla Model 3. Boot capacity. Number one, it's got an electronic tailgate, which the Tesla doesn't have. So it's nicely hidden here. You can click it, you can open it, or you can open it on the key. Before I talk about that, let's just mention this key. It's very tacky. Come on, Polestar, like why this? This is an ugly looking key. Why couldn't you just give us something that was made out of like aluminium? That's quite disappointing. Anyways, let's go back onto the boot capacity. So it's 400 liters, it's down compared to the Tesla, but it has some nice features to make up for that in the boot here. So for example, it's got all my daily stuff in it for the gym. So let's just take out this bag or push it to the end and push those to the end. And it's actually got this divider, which I think is quite cool. I really like that. It makes it just nicer when you're driving, things don't slide around. So that's really cool. You'll see that in the Volvos, they have that as well. Now, talking about the actual design of the rear end as well, because it's a hatchback, it's easy to load things in. But an annoying thing is the parcel shelf has nowhere to go. So you're either flinging it to a side or leaving it at home. So that is quite frustrating. The back seats, they do fold down to increase that boot capacity. However, there's no handles in the rear here. You actually have to get into the back seats and hit the levers to open the back seat, to give more boot capacity. There's also a through loading through the middle here, if you need to chuck skis through, but no one in Australia skis really that often, so more of a European thing. But you you wouldn't be able to fit a surfboard through there. You have to push down the seats, so I wouldn't suggest doing that. But besides that, guys, the boot space at the back is not too bad. But again, not equal to the Tesla Model 3. Let's go to the Frunk. So one of the benefits of having an electric car is that you get a Frunk. Well, you kind of do on the Polestar. So this is another thing that's down on compared to the Tesla Model 3. So the Polestar only has a 25-litre Frunk. So big enough to fit your charging cables, and that's about it. It's not that big after all. Usually at this part of the video, I'm talking at the front end of the car because I'm talking about the internal combustion motor. But since this is an electric car, let's talk about it here because we're going to go into talking about charging capabilities. So this is the top of the line. So it has two dual motors, which is a 78 kilowatt hour battery. The power output is 300 kilowatts, 660 newton meters of torque, sending all that power to all four wheels, allowing this car to do a 0 to 100 time in 4.7 seconds. And I'm telling you, quite fast. It's mind-blowing. You'll see later on what I'm talking about. It's like a roller coaster. Now, the car does weigh 2.1 tons. It's a lot heavier than the Tesla Model 3, which weighs 1.8 tons. And then there's the charging capabilities. Now, if you're going to plug this into a wall socket at home, I do not recommend it because it does take quite a long time to charge. Just guess. I'm going to wait a second and I want you guys to think about how long it would take because it's going to be more than what you're thinking. 40 hours. Don't charge it from home on a wall socket. Not worth it. If you have a wall box, it would take 8 hours. And if you have a fast charger around your area, it will take 40 minutes, claimed. It's not the fastest charging an EV car. The Tesla then again has better stations that will charge their cars faster than this, but it's not the end of the world. Other than that, let's head on to the inside. Yeah, you're good. So what's it like in the back here? Well, the car is based off the XC40, the Volvo. It is very Volvo-like, again, this car. Which means that it shares the same central tunnel as the combustion motor counterpart. And what they've done is they've actually thought about it. So they've kept it and they've actually put batteries through the central tunnel, which has allowed for the car's floor to be recessed even lower, which has actually helped with leg room and foot room. So you actually sit in a nice comfortable position compared to most EV cars where your legs are kind of like up here, they actually sit a lot lower. What's not so good is headroom. So I'm only 5'9.5" and I'm slightly about to touch the ceiling. So you can imagine if you're over 6 foot, you're not gonna be quite comfortable in the back here. But there's plenty of stuff back here. So you've got heated seats in the rear because again, this has the Plus package. You've also got rear vents, which I do like how they finished in this little, like almost metallic kind of finish. It's like Bentley kind of style, which is nice and exquisite and looks expensive. You got your center armrest with your cup holders in it. And then you've also got ISOFIX anchor points for your baby seat, which come off. And I hate when this happens because you end up losing these. So what would be better is just to have a strap there or some sort of other thing that's easier so that you don't lose them. You also get, like I said, in the performance pack, yellow seat belts, which I don't know, some people might like them. I think it's quite dicky, just personally. Door bins. So your rear door bins, they're not that big, which is quite disappointing because you expect to have bigger door bins at the back for your passengers. So if you have a big water bottle, you're just leaving it on the floor. You also got 12-volt socket at the bottom here that actually has USB-C chargers in it instead of a 12-volt socket, so you can charge your mobile phone. And then you've got pockets at the back to chuck your phone in or magazine if you want to read one, which most of the time you probably wouldn't be because the driver in the front is probably going to be going really fast back and forth in his electric car, which is going to give you motion sickness, which I will explain later on how an electric car, if you're coming from a petrol car, will make you sick the first time you drive it. So what's it like here at the front? Well, I like how Polestar has used a traditional car's layout and not gone too over the top futuristic, but futuristic to a point that it's tasteful. So I like this interior over the Tesla because it still feels like a car. So you have your infotainment system and then you got your speedo right up in front of you. So I do like that, and you actually have a physical dash. The steering wheel I really like. I like that it's got physical buttons instead of screens. And then it obviously shares parts from Volvo, like the stalks. They're very Volvo-like. Your speedo, now you have options in the speedo. You have two options. You can either have it showing just speed and your charge and power and percentage of your battery, or you can go full screen of navigation, and that's really useful when using the operating system which this car uses, which is the Android operating system using Google. Why is that good? Well, you can download your Google account and have everything accessible via Google on here, which is really, really useful. Downside is it doesn't have wireless CarPlay for your Apple phone, which is frustrating. But it does have a place to charge it wirelessly and to plug it in here to play Apple CarPlay. Your air conditioning, so your climate control functions are done within the screen, but they've done it right. So you just have to flick up and it's right here, and it's easy to just adjust, so you don't have to really look away. Again, I'd like physical buttons, but I do like how they've integrated that. It's very useful. Then you have your volume knob here, play button there, which is quite nice. And then you have your rear demist and front demist buttons, quick buttons here instead of going into the physical screen, which is quite cool. Then you've got this gear selector. I do like how they've designed that. It looks nice. But coming down to the middle of the console, I don't like what they've done with the cup holders. So now I'm going to talk about some things that I don't like, and that is that there is a cup holder here, but you have to actually go to the second cup holder by opening the armrest like that. And that's quite annoying when you're trying to drive and you have to do that. Why? Just have two cup holders or don't have them at all. Also, some materials feel cheap coming down low. Like the dash feels a bit rattly, and that is because they use a lot of recycled plastics in here instead of using plastics that are new or even using leather. So all the plastics are recyclable, and even the materials are vegan. Like the seats are vegan. Now I would rather leather seats over these, but the leather seat option is a $6,000 option, and it only gives you the seats. It doesn't cover the dash in leather. It's just the seats and that's it. So that is another downfall. And another thing that I don't like is that you actually have to be sitting in the front driver's seat to operate any of the electronics of the car. You can't just sit in the back and open the windows or anything like that. You have to be sitting here physically, which is quite irritating most of the time. Good things is I like how they've used aluminium door handles. There's also a Harman Kardon sound system, part of the Plus package, which is really nice and it's loud. You've also got a moonroof with the Polestar logo illuminated into the roof, which is cool. And you've got frameless door mirrors, which are cool because instead of the actual mirrors moving, the actual whole mirror moves when you want to adjust it, which is quite nice and futuristic in itself. So I like that as well. And then you've got yellow seat belts, like I said. That's part of the performance pack. So there's a lot of yellow in the car in terms of seat belts, and I don't like it. So that's why I'm just mentioning it again. But besides that, guys, let's take this thing for a drive and see what it's like on the main road. One more thing before I forget is that the door bins too at the front aren't big as well. So that's another annoying thing. I don't want to forget to mention that, but let's drive it. So what's it like to drive day to day? Well, let's talk about electric consumption because I want to address that. It's not the most efficient electric car. Now they claim a 450 kilometer range, right? I was getting between 380 to 400. I do have a lead foot, so I can excuse that and give them the benefit of the doubt. However, I just found myself recharging all the time, which is quite frustrating. The Teslas are a bit better in their range, especially the long range versions. This, I just don't think it was very efficient in terms of giving me a very long range for driving, which then comes to the point where I'm gonna say, what would you buy this car for? Are you buying it for driving from, say, suburbia to the city? Because if you're doing that for that point, you're gonna be charging a lot. It's more of a city car. It's not a long distance car. In terms of the ride comfort, it's actually not too bad on smooth roads, but on rougher roads, it's a bit rough, and I think that's due to the springs and dampers. But it's not the worst thing in the world. In terms of handling, now, it's as good as an electric car can be in terms of trying to be emotional and copy of that of a combustion car. It just doesn't have that. It's honestly missing the soul. And I know a lot of automotive journalists use that, and it's used so many times, but it's so true. No matter how much they try to make it like an actual internal combustion motor in terms of how it handles, how it feels, even by having a sport mode, which is literally just turning the traction control off and then putting it into a firmer setting for the steering, it's all fake. None of it's real, and it's quite depressing and it's quite upsetting that it still just doesn't have that essence that an internal combustion motor car has, in terms of when you're driving an internal combustion car and you put your foot down, you feel the car, you feel the gearbox working, you feel the motor working, you can feel them working in combination with each other, and then you flick a paddle or change a gear and you can hear the engine change, the gearbox change the RPMs, they've surged to 8,000 or whatever it is, 7,500, and you got to flick a paddle to change the gear. There's so much involvement in an internal combustion motor car that makes it exciting, where with this, it's just fast. It's fast in a straight line. It's great, and it can do corners, but it's not going to do it with excitement and with passion. It's just going to be, there you go. So as a car, it's great. It gets you from A to B really fast and comfortable and quiet, but that's about it. There is no fake exhaust notes through the speakers. I do like that, Polestar. Thank you for doing that, because I kind of think that's kind of weird. It's just more fakery. Certain cars do it well, and they change the kind of sound that they're trying to put through the speakers, like the iX, the BMW. That does a good job of doing that. If you want to check out that video, go to Exhaust Notes, because we reviewed that. Yeah, but besides that, build quality again is really nice inside. It's high quality, but again, in certain parts, it's a bit cheap. But that's about it. Turning circle, well, let's test that out now. So it does have a 360-degree camera, so let's show you guys how that works. So kind of purposely did a bad three-point turn, but as we can see, we've got a 360-degree camera thanks to the Pilot Pack, which is, you can change the camera angles, which is so good. Like, this is really useful on a car like this, or any car in that matter, and it just works really well. Clear graphics, everything's really nice. One thing this car doesn't have, which is quite disappointing, is it doesn't have the full pilot mode, which is you kind of can just keep your hands on the steering wheel and the car will drive the car for you when you put cruise control on. It doesn't have that. It's got more of a lane keeping assist and cruise control function, which is they call pilot mode, which is not as finished as the Tesla. The Tesla's a lot nicer in the way that it does do that really well, and this just doesn't. So that's another thing where it's down compared to the Tesla. Other than that, guys, let's move on to the price and the conclusion. So what's my verdict on the Polestar 2? Well, it's a very good looking car, no doubt about it. The interior is beautiful and finished really well. Again, would rather leather than the vegan option, but it's still finished very well. However, this is where it fails, and that is in its practicality and also its tech and its speed compared to the Tesla Model 3. This car here configured cost $100,000, and I just don't see myself paying that much for an electric car like this. I would rather spend more and get the Tesla Model 3. I'm just sorry, Polestar. It is very nice. You've done a very good job, but I'd prefer the Tesla. Elon's just done a better job. It's been around longer. But guys, I still wouldn't ride this off. I would still try to give this the benefit of the doubt and taking it for a test drive, because you might fall in love with this over the Tesla. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on another episode of Exhaust Notes Australia.